So normally, when we start in the afternoon sessions, it's a very easy job. Half the people are happy with their lunch. The other half want to take a short nap. So my job becomes easier. Thanks, Suhani. When the mail came to me from TEDxSIUHinjewadi, it was actually a surprise to me, because a few weeks before that, when I was in Pune collaborating with ARAI, we were talking about Symbiosis becoming a green campus, XLRI continuing from where Symbiosis has started the journey, and they also have made their campus green. Something similar to what Paytm did after the demonetization drive. You put an ad in the Hindu congratulating the move. We also thought we should be doing that. So we were actually going to ask somebody, how do we get hold of a handbook of what exactly Symbiosis does in its green campus? So while we are pondering over that, this invitation came in. So let me just get into the subject of what exactly I'm here for. I'm going to break this into a few parts. Start with why exactly Sparrow happened or how it happened. Take you through a little bit of what exactly happened in my life, and then come back to Sparrow again. Yesterday when I came here for my rehearsal, I realized something dramatic. The date on the presentation was 01/07/17. Then when I was working here, I realized if I make it a 7/1/17, it is 71/17. It was reverse. So I thought I should make it a point to put it here, there also. What's very critical to me, and Sparrow has taught me, is that I come from a second generation family business where ownership and management remain the same. But when it comes to Sparrow as a company now, the ownership and management are absolutely different. I have started this with my employees together to take it to the next generation. We want Sparrow Mobility as a company to be not just owned by the promoters, but also by the employees. We have taken a cue from the smartphone development. Why have we taken a cue from the smartphone development with respect to Sparrow is a very simple example. Mobile phones, when they came into India, they just permitted you to walk or be free to yourself when you were speaking to somebody else. Now from that, it's actually become an indispensable personal accessory. If you pull a smartphone from somebody, that's it. You had it. I've been hearing stories about divorces going online because somebody wanted to meddle with somebody else's smartphone. That's the classic side of it. Now going back into why exactly electric mobility from our learning over the last 3 to 4 years, there's a lot of change that's happening in the earth. A lot of people are talking about climate change. We heard about, yesterday I had further reiteration on that. The US President-elect does not believe in climate change. And I would ensure that by whatever I talk over the next 14 to 15 minutes, I would be happy if at least 50% of the people gathered here believe in what exactly is climate change. China is bearing the brunt of it. India is likely to be worse than China. I have taken this as a classic example, or rather one of the classic examples. This is Delhi, taken 2 years back. This is Bangalore. I am a victim of Bangalore's traffic personally. 2 years back, I got stuck in Bombay. I happened to be in Bombay on the wrong day. I was in my friend's office. Of course, we were there together. We stayed over because we couldn't move out of the office. So we continued to deliberate over e-mobility sitting in his office. Why am I saying Spero or e-bikes are critical? Some statistics listed here. It's more mobility in a space. It enhances mobility. It saves emission. It is safe because the top speed regulated by the global system is 25 kilometers per hour. So you cannot ride more than 25 kilometers per hour on an e-bike. So that means the tendency for accidents would probably be minimal, because I cannot top speed at 320 kilometers an hour in an Audi. The roads are not there. The rules don't permit, but still the company says you can. We don't say that. We say you can. 25 kilometers is the maximum. Illustration. 60 minutes, 39 minutes. But what is very important is not the 21-minute saving. In that 39-minute journey, you probably have seen a lot of people whom you have not seen in the past because you were zipping past them in the car. You probably lost touch with the kirana store that you grew up with. That's a classic opportunity. Going back to serious stuff, energy consumption, from an aeroplane to an e-bike. So even if you travel by bus, these statistics are from the European Union, researched at a cost of 1.3 billion euros. So I believe it. So if you buy an e-bike, you probably are using lesser energy than going by a bus. Carbon emission. A lot of people pay penalties because they have their own aircrafts, because they pollute a lot. You own an e-bike, you don't have to worry about that. But we go beyond all that. A very interesting statistic that we have taken, 83% of travel is personal in the US. Statistics in India are not available, so we are relying on data like this. If we do not change, there are not going to be roads, there probably are going to be multi-layered roads. And those multi-layered roads would remain the same. There would be vehicles parked, we would wait for 2-3 hours, even if there are multi-layered roads. I'm not going to spend much time on this part, but I will take you through what exactly happened to me from my childhood. Formative years, I was induced into writing by my father. So I had an opportunity of interacting somebody from the United Nations. So he coerced me to write to them. I would get snail mails from them by post. A newsletter sent in January would reach me in March, but I still was waiting for it. And that habit still continues now. Whenever I travel, I send a postcard to my kids all the way from wherever I am. Now my children are taking up that cue. Nothing great about the first few years of my life, except one simple fact. I was a loner. I was talking only to myself, and I would sit and read my books, and I would not do anything else. Higher school was no different. It was the same. College was subtly different. It was an interesting part of my college. It took me 9 months to speak to her. But then, since then, we've been talking. But this changed me as it is. So if you're talking about me in my earlier part of my undergraduate studies, I would have come here, I would have thanked everybody and stood here for 18 minutes and said, thank you at the end of the 18th minute, and I would have said, let's go back. But things are different now. After the subtle change in me, I realized that I had to go back into a family business to take it out of recession. I didn't want to rock the boat. But joining the family business actually gave me the reason to study sustainability continuously. For 13 years that I worked under my father, I learned sustainability to the core. But we had several differences. Because he said, fag end of his career, he is not going to diversify. And sadly, that fag end of the career was a 10-year-long tenure. For 10 years, he said it's a fag end of his career. But it's very unfortunate that, I lost him in 2013. We knew he was dying. But the last 20, 25 days that he was alive, we agreed on one thing. I needed to be cautious, but I also need to diversify. Now, when that approval came from him, I said, I'm going to learn once again. I decided I'm going to go back to a college to learn a few things. I had the opportunity of being in Auckland for 3 weeks in 2013 and 3 weeks in 2014. They were very, very kind enough to split my course into 2 years. But the only thing is I would not get a certificate to prove that I have finished the course. The learning was important, not just a certificate. Oh, by the way, I am yet to get my postgraduate certificate after my MBA. I'm still trying to find a way to go and collect it. So Auckland changed the way I saw things. Then as part of my existing business, I was traveling to Europe to bring in nonwoven into bast fiber. That showed me Europe. It was Italy and Switzerland which showed me e-bikes. I was captivated. You had people who had that freedom. You could see the joy on the face of people who were on the e-bikes. It was a fantastic feel-good. So I said, we are in renewable energy space hunting. Why not an application of renewable energy? we'll slowly start modifying our thought process. That is how we evolved and said, electric mobility is where I want to be in. Because we had an engineering industry which could actually manufacture what we wanted. And I come from Coimbatore, as introduced. This city can make anything and everything. You want anything, give us a call. I might not be able to make it, but somebody else will make it for you. A lot of inspirations, but the failures of electric mobility actually prompted us more. If somebody else failed, we don't want to fail. How have they failed? What have they done wrong? We got them rectified. So when I said, what product do I manufacture? We went on another hunt before we decided on the e-bike. The whole journey started like this. We ripped out old electric scooters. We pulled out the motors. And guess where we went to for the batteries? We went again to the old market. We picked up used laptop batteries. They have lithium ion. We pulled them out. We tested them because we had the facility to test them. We had our first e-bike in our factory. Supposedly a 1000-watt motor, which meant the top speed of the cycle was 120 kilometers. Me and my team have read that. After we finished the prototypes, you needed somebody else to play the role of a devil's advocate. If it's my product, I would say it's nice. But I needed somebody who would speak plain. The product is bad. You are useless. I needed somebody to tell me that. While we were talking to friends is when we got introduced to a gentleman who said, why don't I help you crowdfund it? It took me 30 seconds to say yes. You know why? We thought if we crowdfund it, it would be a fantastic change to the way electric mobility is positioned in India. That was the only reason why we said we will do that. Because as a product, we had everything with us. It would recharge. As Suhani said, 30 kilometers was a tip. We have a few bikes flagged off from Pune to Nasik with a chargeable capability of 100 kilometers. So we have a bike which will run 100 kilometers on throttle power on a charge without a stop. And if you happen to use the pedal along with the charge or along with the power assist, you probably are going about 180 kilometers. We have done 180 kilometers. We have done Coimbatore, Bangalore in 2 charges, or 1 charge rather. So once the crowdfunding thought process was approved upon, the timelines were set. We only had prototypes which could not be photoed at all. We did not have a model. So we needed to put that model in place. Rapidly we got the model in place, took a few pictures, went through the whole thought process. The timelines frozen. The campaign started. The first campaign was very successful. We had to open up the second campaign because there were a lot of people waiting in the line. The second campaign also was successful. Now we are waiting to have our experience centers across the country. We have dispatched the first batch of 104 Sparrows, including 3 in Pune. We've got 104 Sparrows in the market now. We're manufacturing another 120 to be delivered in the month of January. And from February, we are available on demand. Now, what took us off to push us dramatically is, during the crowdfunding campaign, we had somebody contributing 100 rupees and calling us and telling, I cannot afford an e-bike. But at the same time, I like the concept. He was an auto driver. That's his probably one day's earning. Emotions run very, very deep into us. We said, if not for us, for the backers, for the people who trusted us and said we can make a difference in electric mobility in India, this product has to go to the next stage. So our entire thought process shifted from slow-paced movement to aggression. Now what do we want to do? The government of India has a national electric mobility mission plan. We want to be a part of it. We want to be a major part of it. Now then there's a smart city conceptualization which is happening. Out of the 100 smart cities, at least 70 of them will have a non-motorized track. And yes, e-bikes can go on non-motorized tracks where you do not have a signal. You don't have to wait for traffic. Nobody's going to stop you. Nobody's going to fine you for that. What more? There's no traffic. There's no signals. You're on your own. If you have a top end speed of 25 kilometers, you're probably at least able to cross 20 kilometers in that hour. That's fantastic. Now, a small definition of what is a pictorial representation of what we have done. Now, what you see from us is actually just the tip of the iceberg. Now, there's a lot of things that we are working on which we would actually like to bring into the market. And when I say that, we are talking about regeneration absolutely, which means there is no power that will be needed from the wall. When I say wall, it also can include solar power, it can include anything. That means it's the human energy which is going to be absolutely used to charge the bike and continue using it. But yes, of course, there's one small thought. You might have to charge it once in a while, maybe once in a month or once in 2 months. You might have to charge it. So right now what we have reached is 25 kilometers of pedal assist, electrically assisted pedaling will ensure that it is automatically charged and you can continue riding it. But if you do less than that, that's where the catch comes in. Or if you do more than that is where the catch absolutely comes in. So if you've got somebody who's pedaling 60 kilometers on a regular basis, we might not be able to augment that 60 kilometers of energy to give them 60 kilometers. We will have to probably fall back. So that is where we are applying our mind to see what is the additional regeneration that we can offer. It's going to happen very, very soon. We're looking at the back end where we say the government of India's plan of 100 gigawatt of solar power needs to be actually put in place. You need more than solar power producing stations. Rooftop solar stations are very critical. It's a classic application where the photovoltaic activity is absorbed. You can charge your vehicles on the spot. This is likely to happen in probably 1 or 2 smart cities on a test project as quickly as possible. We're working at the back end. We should have the entire system in place and supply chain. We actually wanted to do this in Pune. The initial talk started in Pune, but looks like Bangalore may be before Pune. And to finish it all, this is me. The ones who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who will do it. Now, I tell this to every staff of mine. The reason is, if we are not crazy enough, we will not be able to support the consumer's requirement, the augmented consumer's requirement. And before I finish, I have one additional thought that I want to share. As a family, we've made a change towards sustainable living. Now, we would like to see every one of you making the effort, everyone in the arena. Unless we make the change ourselves, the system is not going to change. And if the system is not going to change, then tomorrow is not going to exist at all. We are firm believers that even today, if we start, we might not be able to undo the damage that has happened in the world. But classically speaking, today will be better, tomorrow will be much, much better, and the future, our children would probably enjoy the pleasure of what exactly we had during our childhood. I'm sure most of you would not have had the kind of clean air and water that I had as a child, but I would like to ensure that my children and your children and even you and me are able to have this in the future. Thank you.